So the last session, we discussed about DSCP, configuring DSCP, and how DSCP assign IP. And we also discussed about like how to take backup of DSCP, how to reserve IP from DSCP server. And after that, we even discussed about how to configure the DSCP failover. So you can have multiple DSCP in your network. In case of one DSCP fail, for high availability, we can configure multiple DSCP. Okay. So in today's session, we'll be discussing about one more important class for MCSE. So today we try to discuss about like what is WDS, what is the use of WDS, how to configure, and how to use a WDS server in our network. Now, so basically like when you talk about operating system, so operating system plays very, very important role. So let's say today I go market, from the market I purchase computer. On the top of computer, whenever you want to do any task, when you want to use application, when you want to perform anything on a computer, so first thing what actually we do, we need to install the operating system. So operating system, we call it is an interface between user and hardware. Okay. So the complete computer we operate depends on operating system. Okay. So computer it is not only designed for the people like who are educated, who are engineer, who are administrator, or who are architecture. Okay. So in today's time, computer is a common device that use anybody. Okay. If I, if I'm working in a school, even I use, the machine. If I stay in home, even I use computer. So depends on the requirement. We have different, the usage. Okay. Somebody use computer for programming, somebody use computer for controlling, somebody use computer for doing certain tasks, somebody maybe use for playing games, or somebody maybe to access the internet. Okay. So basically, computer we use for many reasons. Okay. So whenever you want to perform any task on a computer, compulsory we need to install operating system. Operating system helps you to understand device, and without operating system, directly we can say it's a useless machine. You cannot do anything without operating system. Okay. Now the next very, very important thing we need to understand here. So whenever, let's say I have a machine, it's a new computer. So if I want to install operating system, so how actually we can install operating system? So whenever if you want to install operating system on a device, it may be like laptop, it may be a server, it may be, the desktop. So first thing you remember. So previously we used to install operating system by CD. Okay. So in today's time, CD is outdated. So previously the operating system, it was coming in terms of, MB. Okay. So CD size maximum is support 700 MB. Okay. So previously, like the operating system, we have in like 400 MB, 500 MB, then we have like 700 MB. So different versions, we have different categories. So nowadays, CD is completely outdated. Even like in a market, if you want to purchase CD, so you will not get it. Apart from CD, we also have DVD. And today, so one of the category like when you want to install operating system, we can also use a DVD. Okay. So DVD, you also have a DVD-ROM in your computer. So you have a DVD-ROM. In that we install the DVD of operating system, and we can able to install the operating system. Okay. So my normally like when you purchase a DVD, and if you burn the DVD for operating system, so first time when you insert DVD on a machine, so first time we never have a problem. Okay. The same thing might maybe I have another machine, and in that machine also by using the same DVD, if I'm installing operating system, yeah, second time also I don't have issue. So without any issue, now you can able to install the operating system. Like this, maybe I install maybe third machine, maybe fourth machine, maybe fifth machine. So after the installation of 10 to 15 times, maybe 20 times, automatically you may get some kind of errors. Okay. Even though like when I see my DVD, in DVD we don't have even there is no scratch. Okay, DVD is not damaged. It's like completely new. But even though it's new, if I insert a DVD into my DVD ROM, the computer will give you error. The files are missing. The files are corrupted. Sometimes your DVD ROM is not going to detect. Okay, so you may get many issues related to the DVDs. Okay, so even though DVD we use for installation, but you cannot use DVD for lifelong. You cannot say just you make one DVD and whenever you want, maybe after 1 year, 2 or 3 years, 4 years. Okay, if you want to use, no, that is not possible. Okay, you can use for certain time, but because whatever technology that you see in a market, so nothing is lifelong. Even if you purchase a smartphone from the market, so you cannot use for a lifelong. Okay, so maximum we use 1 year. So after 1 year, now we start thinking about the changing smartphone. Why? Because even the people who manufacture these devices, they know the people they are going to change these smartphone every year. So that's why we have a demand for this company actually exists in the market. So anyhow, so we were talking about like when you have a DVD. So with the help of DVD, when you are installing operating system, so first time never have issue. Second time, third time also we don't have issue. But after the installation of maybe certain time, so you may get some error. So your files are missing or files are corrupted. Okay. So this may errors you can see. But today even DVD is also outdated. So the method we use today, we have a USB. Okay. So we'll be using a USB. So pen drive also plays a very, very important role. So not only you install operating system by DVD, we can also use a pen drive. So if you are installing operating system by pen drive, so pen drive is even it is not a lifelong method. I mean, you cannot say just make one bootable pen drive and whenever you want you can install. But by using pen drive, we can install many times compared to DVD. So even in pen drive also you may get issues. What kind of issue you get here? Let's say I want to install operating system on a machine where the machine is getting a lot of virus here. Okay, so you have a virus on a machine, and on the top of that machine, if I connect a pen drive, so this pen drive, whatever the files you have, maybe some of the files may be corrupted. You have something called like auto run file. So that file helps your pen drive to detect on a machine. Okay, so your virus automatically delete that particular file. So in case, what will happen here? So now I connect a pen drive, and when you try to power on, the computer is not going to detect this pen drive. Means it is not going to understand. Okay, the pen drive is connected. Okay. So sometimes not only you have a problem in DVD, even you also have a problem in pen drive. But one of the feature in pen drive, I can even format and I can make it bootable again. Okay, with the help of application, with the help of this part, again I can able to format this pen drive. I can use again. Okay, so till now, like whatever the method we have seen, this is whenever you install operating system on a personal machine. So either we use a DVD method or we can use a pen drive method. Okay, both the methods are used. Okay. Now sometimes we have a situation. So instead of installing operating system like 1 and 2, this is my personal computer. Okay. Now coming to our company network, let's say I join a company, and in a company I'm the system administrator, and one of the job of system admin, I'm going to manage all my resources. I'm going to manage all my clients. I'm going to manage all my devices of the network. So local area network will be managed by a system administrator. Okay. So imagine when I join a company, so the company, I got a network of 300 machines. So as an administrator, I'm doing all my tasks, installing patches or doing troubleshooting in the network, giving some services, configuring DHCP. Everything for me is easy. So as a administrator of my company, I'm handling all my network. Okay. So now what happened? Maybe after some time, what the company they have done. So maybe once I join a company, after joining, maybe after 2 years, company, they got a project, and based on the project, let's say company, they are going to have for a new 100 machine. Okay. So we will be having new machine in our company, total like 400. So we already have 300. Now we are going to add more 400 machines. So installing operating system by DVD and CD, it is not very easy for administrator. No, we cannot say like, we need like this many DVDs, or even like if I'm installing operating system by USB, so all the time we have a question like how many DVDs you need and how many USB you need. And one of the things we need to understand, if I'm installing operating system by DVD, so make sure every computer you require a DVD-ROM. In case if you don't have DVD-ROM, maybe you have to purchase external DVD-ROM. And by using external DVD-ROM, it takes a lot of time, right? Because one by one you have to connect and you have to install the operating system. So it takes a lot of time. Okay. Now, instead of DVD, suppose if you're installing operating system by USB, so even USB, let's say I connect a USB here. So one USB, you cannot install multiple operating systems. So one USB, you can have installation here only. Then once I finish, now you can go another machine, I can install. I can go again. So every machine you have to go and you have to spend at least minimum half an hour for the installation. Okay. So it takes a lot of time for administrator to install the operating system. But in a real time, like when you work in a company, the company will not give you 2 3 months to do all these things. Okay. So you have to do within a short period. Maybe like the company maybe give you like 4 to 5 days, maybe like 3 days, or maybe like one week maximum. We need to make sure like all these computers should be ready to use in a network. Okay. And not only the installation of operating system, even these computers should be ready to use in a network. Okay. So in this situation, what actually we do? So instead of installing operating system by DVD and USB, now we use one method here. The method we call as network. Okay. So with the help of network, you can install complete operating system. And how we are going to do that? So that operating system will be installing with the help of a service, and the name of the service we call it as a WDS. So WDS stands for Windows Deployment Server. In old version, like in previously, we call it as RIS, Remote Installation Services. From 2008, Microsoft renamed the service as Windows Deployment Services. Okay. And with the help of WDS, what actually we are going to do now in a network, I'm going to have a dedicated server. In that server, I'm going to configure the service. And here, what I do, I'm going to make images of operating system. What operating system you want to install on a network? Okay. Let's say I want to install Windows 10, or maybe I want to install Windows 8. Maybe I want to configure like 2012, maybe 2016. So it doesn't matter whatever operating system you want to deploy in a network. I just create images and simply I'll go to the machine. So there is no operating system here. There is nothing. So this machine I'm going to connect to my network, and here simply I'm going to press one key. The key will be like F12. Okay. So F12 we use for the network view. So when you press F12, it asks you many options there. You want to boot from your CD, DVD, or you may have option like you want to boot from your hard disk, you want to boot from your USB, and you also have option there. You want to boot from your network. So when you select network, so over the network now the request will go to my WDS server. If you have only one image, so that operating system will be directly installed. Now if you have multiple images, so here now as administrator we have options. So what operating system you want to install here? You want to install Windows 8, you want to install Windows 10, you want to install 2015, 2012. So whatever you want, you just select that image. So from the server, that complete image is going to be installed. Okay. Now the installation is start. At the same time, I'll go here. I'll do the same process. Here also the installation starts. Now I can go here also. So within a few minutes, I can go many computers and I can start the installation. So here, so maybe I can say within a fraction of minutes, I can install operating system to multiple devices. Not only the installation is done, so once the installation done, now the computer is ready to use in network. Even no need to join the computer to your domain, no need to configure the IP. So this machine ready to use in a network, so user can log in and he can able to perform the task. Okay. So this is the feature of WDS server. Okay. So WDS started from 2008. So previously WDS we call as RAS, installation services. Okay. So now let us understand how before you install WDS, what is the requirement. So first of all, let us see what is how we define WDS. Small definition we'll see. So Windows Deployment Services enable you to deploy Windows operating system over the network, which means that you do not have to install each operating system directly from CD or DVD or USB. And one more thing here you can see. So one of the points you have to remember here. Now with the help of WDS, we can install only Windows operating system. Okay. You have a server. If this is your WDS server, when you are installing operating system, so from server, I can install only the Windows operating system. Maybe in a company, if you want to install a Linux, maybe you want a Macintosh, maybe like Mac or different operating system. So you cannot install non-Microsoft operating system from this WDS. It supports only Windows. Windows may be server, Windows may be client. Okay, and this will be installed over the network. And here, when you use server, we don't require any special DVD. We don't require any USB for installation directly. Just as admin, we need to go and we have to press F12 here. So once you press F12, now the request goes to my WDS. From the WDS, now the information is going to be downloaded. Now let us understand what is the requirement. So the machine where you want to configure WDS on the network, you need to have all these things. Okay. So here, and one more thing, maybe in a I have a machine in home. I also have another machine. Both are my laptop, and between these two computers, let's say I connected cable and I configure IP. This is my network. So here I'll be running Windows 10. And here, suppose another laptop I'll be using like Windows 8. So when I say network, sometimes we fail to understand the actual meaning of network, like what in what kind of network we use this service. Okay. So even though it's a network, both the machines are connected physically. Even both the machines they have IP address. Let's say future one of my laptop, my complete operating system is corrupted. Maybe even I don't have a backup to recover. Even now maybe from internet I download certain file and those files got the virus and it corrupt all my computers. Okay, so I don't have any option to install operating system in my computer. So previously, like I used to have a network. So now what I want to install operating system to this machine. Okay, so can I install operating system by sitting on this laptop? Okay. Now, if you are installing operating system over the network, what you need to do? Now, first of all, here you have to install the server. On the top of server, again, you need to install Active Directory. Then you have to configure DNS. Then you have to configure DHCP. Then you have to configure WDS. Then make image. Then I'll go and I'll press F12. So if you're installing operating system in your personal machine, so this method, it is not designed for installing operating system to 1 to 2 machines. Okay. So here what we can do, so either you connect DVD here or you can connect pen drive, we can install operating system directly on that machine. Okay. So if you're installing operating system in a work group network, we don't have all these services. Okay. So these services we have in your domain network. So what we can do, now you may have a domain controller in your network. You also require a DHCP. You also require a DNS. And the machine where you are installing WDS, you also require NTFS partition on that. Okay. So where you store the images of network. Okay. So in my case, I already have DHCP. Last time we configured. We already have DNS service. We also have Active Directory. And we also require an NTFS partition that is by default we format. Okay. So how WDS works? So whenever you go client and when you press F12, what the machine will do? Now the machine will broadcast and that broadcast packet was sent to a DHCP server. Okay. So last time, if you remember, like we talk about DHCP port. So DHCP use port number like 67 and it also use 67 and 68. Both are used when you have a machine, that machine is having operating system. And when you select option IP, so that request will go to DHCP with the help of 67 and DHCP reply to that computer with the help of 68. Now, right now, the machine where I'm sitting, there is nothing here. There is no operating system. If there is no operating system, then how this computer is able to contact to DHCP? How the request will forward to the DHCP server? So this right now, this client we call as PXC client. For PXC client, DHCP use a port number 60. So this machine will broadcast. Now first, the broadcast packet will send to the DHCP. So whenever request comes to DHCP, what the DHCP will do? Now DHCP is going to assign one IP address. With the help of that IP, the machine is going to contact the DNS server for name resolution. Okay, it is going to ask like, okay, give me the information of domain controller. So from DNS, it is going to give the information of a DC, and when it contacts to DC, so when you configure like WDS in a network, so that information actually maintained in your Active Directory. So the request goes to Active Directory. From Active Directory is going to search the information of WDS. So this machine again, it will forward a request to WDS server. From WDS, now the complete image is going to be downloaded. So this process will actually take place in background. So when you do practically, so normally what happens? So if you sit on a client, when you press F12, directly you get the installation. Okay, but background you have this process. The next, we have two types of image. So this is your WDS server, and whenever on the network, when you want to configure operating system, so what I do on my WDS, I have to make two images. One is install image as well as boot image. Boot image, it is going to allow the machine to load the booting files of operating system. Okay. So with the help of a booting file, now the operating system first, it will take a booting file. Then once when it's going to finish loading file, then the complete installation will be done with the help of install image. Okay. So as administrator, whenever you want to make image on WDS, so you have to make this two images. So practically, I'll show you how to create it. So this will be one of the file like we have this is one of the file we have like boot.vim, install.vim. This will be one vim file. Now to configure WDS, you have to keep some of the point in your mind. Okay, so step by step, I'm going to show you all the requirements. So the first thing is what you need to install WDS. So before you install WDS, you have to check requirements. On the network, you need to have DHCP. On the network, you need to have Active Directory. On the network, you have DNS. And it is not compulsory, like everything should be in one server. That should be in network. Okay. So you may have a server. Let's say I have a server, maybe I have Active Directory and DNS in one. I also have separate DHCP. And for WDS, I can have separate machine also. Okay. Or else, now I can do all the services in one here. So here only I have Active Directory, here only I have DNS. On the same machine, I also have DHCP, and I can configure WDS on the same machine. So that is also possible. So either you keep everything in one server, or you can also keep in different servers. Okay. So the first thing, you have to install WDS. After the installation, the next step we need to configure. Then after that, we have to start the service. Then we need to configure these two images. And to see result, we have to go any client computer. On the client computer, you have to press only F12, where you have to select the network group. Okay, so automatically the installation starts. Okay, so let's see the first requirement. So I'll go to my server. So first of all, let us understand the requirement. So this is my domain controller. So domain controller means I already have AD installed here. So here I already have AD. My server is running, and the name of my domain is online MCSE. And not only that, even when I open the server manager, so here you come to know what I'm running here. So here you can see I have Active Directory. Even I also have DHCP as well as DNS. Now here only I can install WDS. I don't have issue. Okay, but in my case, what I do, I'm going to configure WDS in my separate server. because yesterday we talked about the failover. I have separate server for member server. In that member server, we are configuring DSCP, WDS. Okay, so right we can see. So here only the DSCP is there. So now if I see the computer property, so the name of the machine is DSCP2. So the name is DSCP2, but here only I'm configuring WDS. How we can do that? So open your server manager and click add roles and features. So before I do even, uh, the machine where I'm sitting here, I have only one partition, C. On the top of C only, I'm going to make images of my WDS. Okay. But remember, in a real time, you have to keep a WDS images on a separate partition. Maybe if something happens to my server, so I don't want any effect to that particular device, the images. So in that case, you have to have separate hard disk where you can have maintain the images. So this is I'm doing on my version. So here I click add roles and features. Next, and right now the machine where I'm sitting DSC52 online MCSE.com, and the IP which I'm using for my WDS is 10.1.1.2. Now, so where we need to put check marks here. So we have separate options for WDS, Windows Deployment Service. So why we use it? So Windows Deployment Services provides a simplified, secure means of rapidly and remotely deploying Windows operating system over the network. Okay. So this operating system will be installed to your computers. So it's clearly saying. So just put a check mark here. So whenever you put check mark to any roles, it also requires certain features to configure. So you have to say add features. Next. So the next option we have features. So leave it as it is. No need to do anything on the feature. And here, one more time, it's giving the introduction like why you install WDS and previously what WDS we called. So we can use WDS service to install and configure like Microsoft Windows operating system remotely on PXE enabled. So Windows deployment services replace a remote installation. So previously, as I told you, it was called as RAS. Now we call it as WDS. Okay. Now to configure WDS, you need to have DSCP, you require DNS, and you also require NTFS partition, and you also require Active Directory in your network. Next. So when you try to configure WDS, so here it will try to show you the whatever it requires. By default, it is selected. Don't do anything here. So make sure both the checks are available. If you remove this check mark, that means your WDS will not work properly. So don't do anything here. Leave it as it is. Next, and you have to click install. So the installation is done. Now you have to close it. So once you install WDS, you can go the tools, and here we have the option Windows Deployment Services. So you have to select here Windows Deployment Services. So the first time I'm configuring my domain. So it's fine. And here it says, what is saying? Windows Deployment Services is not configured. You have to configure that. Okay, how we configure? So the second step, we have to configure the WDS. To configure, right click on your WDS server. See, the machine name is DSCP2. The machine name may be your domain controller. The way you, in the machine like where you configure WDS. So just right click and say configure server. So whenever you try to configure WDS, always it will try to say all the requirements. So the server may be a member of AD or the server may be a domain controller. So right now the machine where I'm installing WDS is member of my network, means it's a member server, or you may even configure on a domain controller. You also require DSCP here. You also require DNS and NTFS partition. So everything I have done. Next. So here we have two options. So the machine is asking in which computer you are configuring WDS. If you configure WDS server on a member server or a domain controller where you install AD or maybe as a part of your domain, then you are going to select the option like integrated with AD. So what will happen if you select this option? The information of WDS, it is going to maintain in your Active Directory. Okay. So that is called integrated with AD. So if you configure WDS on a standalone server, in that case, we have to go with this option. So we go with the option like integrated with AD. Next. And here you can see this is asking for like when you install, you are going to make images. So that image in which location you want to maintain. Okay. So right now the server where I'm sitting, I have only one partition here. If you have another partition, that is the best thing you can keep. So you have to keep the images of WDS. You have to keep on a separate partition, where possible separate disk. Suppose if I go with a C drive, what will happen? So it will try to give you a warning message. So what kind of warning here? So the computer say the volume selected is also a Windows volume. So for the best performance and data reliability, now the remote installation folder should be stored on separate volume or where possible separate disk. So now what will happen if something happens to your operating system? So it is going to affect on the complete C drive. And on the top of C drive, if you already have images of your operating system, so even those images also affected. Okay. So either you need to have separate volume or you may have separate hard disk. But right now I don't have separate partition or separate hard disk. So just for our test purpose, I'll say yes. Okay. Now the next very, very important thing you need to understand here. Now we have something like if DHCP dynamic configuration protocol running on the server means right now the machine where I'm running WDS on the same machine, suppose if I also have DHCP, if both I'm configuring on same, make sure you have to put check mark to both the options. Okay. If you are configuring, if dynamic host configuration protocol running on the server, check both of the following boxes and use DHCP tool to appropriate PXC option to all DHCP and DHCP VC scope. If a non Microsoft DHCP running on the server, then check the first box and manually configure DHCP option for port 60. Let's say, suppose right now I'm using Windows server. On Windows, if I'm configuring DHCP as well as WDS on same, so make sure both are options you have to check. Okay. Sometimes normally what happens, maybe I have a DHCP which I configure on a Linux. I'm using a Linux DHCP server and that DHCP is giving the IP. But in my network, I'm configuring separate WDS. So in that case, what you have to do, you have to put check mark to first option, and on that Linux DHCP, you have to manually configure a port for DHCP v6. Okay. So you have to configure this port number. You have to create one record on the DHCP server for the Linux. Okay. So right now we are not using any Linux service here. So make sure, just you have to remember, just make sure both the check marks are there. And this is by default check only. Next. And the last option, it will ask you, you will be configuring WDS. This is your WDS server. On the top of WDS, I'll be configuring maybe images later. So I make images. After that, what I'm going to do, so maybe I'll go to a client and here I press F12. Okay. So here I'm going to press F12. So when you press F12 over the network from the client, the request will go to WDS. So what do you want? Do you want WDS respond to the client or not? Okay. So here you have certain options. Okay. So one of the options says, now do not respond to any client. If you go with this option, that means there is no meaning of configuring WDS. Respond to client, known client, or respond to known and unknown client. So what is the difference between like known and unknown? Known computer is nothing but like whose computer information is maintaining on AD. So whenever you join the machine to your network, the machine information automatically maintained by AD. So in that machine, if you are installing operating system, so for me, those computer we call it as unknown client. Unknown client machine, like maybe I have a new computer where the information of those computers are not registered in AD. So for that machine, we call it as unknown. So here, what you can do, we can put a check mark here. I want to install operating system. I want my WDS response to all the machines, maybe known or it may be unknown. or even you can also put a check mark, require administrative approval for unknown machine. So if I'm sitting on unknown computer, so in that case, from WDS, I need to have approval. So unless until I have, administrator approve, the installation will not be take place. So this is for the security purpose. Next. So this is how we configure WDS. So once you configure, so here, this is not error. The machine saying like the service did not respond to start. So here you have to say finish. What is the third step? Now the third step you have to what? Start service. So how we can start the service? So once you configure, so this is your WDS server. To start the service, you have to right click on the name of your WDS, and here we have to go all start, and here we have the option like start service. So the successfully started the service, you have to say yes, okay. Now the next very important task we have to do, that is configuring these two boot images. Okay. Now, as admin, first of all, you decide which operating system you want to deploy over the network. You want to deploy Windows 10, Windows 8, or Windows Server 16, or 19, or 12. That is completely depends on your requirement. Okay. So first, what I'm going to do, so whenever I'm going to deploy anything, so I need to insert the DVD of operating system here. So what I have to do here, I have to insert the operating system DVD to my server, means the machine where I'm installed WDS. So if this is your physical server, so you have to insert the operating system DVD of Windows 10 or Windows Server. Then from that DVD, we have a folder sources. From that sources, you may have two files. So from these two files, you have to make those particular images. But right now, this is my virtual machine. We are doing all the practical in our virtual environment. So what I do, so when you install any virtual operating system, so here we also have virtual DVD-ROM. So what we can do here, so when you right click on settings, when you right click on your virtual machine and when you go settings, so here you can see there is an option CD, DVD, SATA. So here you have to click ISO image. So when you give image here, so that image comes to you as a DVD-ROM. So I'm giving Windows 10 image. So when I say OK, so what will happen here? So in this virtual DVD-ROM, you will be getting the DVD of operating system. And here, when I open this DVD-ROM, so now you can see here one folder is there. The name of the folder is sources. Now in this folder, we have a file. So here you will be having two files. One of the file we have boot.vim. So this is the file. Now with the help of this file, I'm going to create a boot image. And here we also have one more file, install.vim. So with the help of this file, I'm going to create the image of image of install. So this is the actual file. The complete operating system file, we call it as install.vim. And here you can see almost like 3.3 GB file is there. Okay. So one more time, I'll go to my WDS. And here, first, I'm going to create a boot image. So right click on a boot image, I'll say add boot image. So where is that image? If you already know the location, we can write here like D:// in DVD-ROM, we have a folder like sources. In sources, we have a file like boot.vim. So directly you can give a location like this. Now, if you don't know anything, so Microsoft give you the option here. So here it clearly says, so the default boot or install images like boot.vim or install.vim are located on installation DVD that is on sources folder. So how we can go is, we can browse, open your DVD. In DVD-ROM, we have a folder sources. In the sources, we select some file. So if you make a boot image, you have to select the file boot.vim. If you create install image, you have to create a file install.vim. Okay, so make sure you have to select a proper file when you create a boot or install images. So in my case, I'm selecting boot. I'll go with the next. And here you can put any name. Let's say I'll be installing like Windows 10. So what was the name which I give here? That name it show when I'm installing in a client machine. So I'm just giving a name here, Windows 10. Next. And click. So first what it will do, so it will take only fraction of second. It is going to add this boot image. And this boot image, it is only used for loading booting files. And I'll show you practically when we go to plan and when you press F12. So in that time, what it's going to do, I'll show you. So this is the first image we configure. So the operation is completed. Okay, finish. The second image you have to create is install image. So you have to go install image, right click and say add install image. So if you want, you can put a name here. Let's say I'll be making image of my Windows 10. Next. Where is that? Now this time I'm making install image. So here I'll create install.vim. Okay. Next. So right now the image which I selected, the DVD which I insert to my DVD-ROM. So the DVD is having two types of operating system. One is Windows 10 Pro and Windows 10 Home. So I don't want Windows 10 Home. So I remove this check mark. I want to make image. So this operating system I'll be installing in my network. Next and create. So it takes at least like minimum 5 to 6 minutes. So it is going to copy all the files. Now done. Now we'll say finish. So till now what we have done, we install the WDS. So one more time, I repeating. So first we install the WDS from Server Manager. Then after that we configure and we start the service. And we also configure like boot and install image for Windows 10. Now if you want Windows Server, again what you can do? So again, you can go your settings of virtual machine. And here you can give image of server. If you want to make image, then select server. Now what we need to do again, first I'll make boot image of server, then I make install image of that server. Okay. So that means now I have two types of operating system I can deploy, Windows 10 as well as server. Okay. But right now let's see first, we'll be deploying a client operating system. So this thing we need to configure on a server. Now to see result, we have to go any client machine. Client means just go any device. And on the top of device, you have to press a F12 button. Okay. But remember, if you are using a virtual machine, so when you power on, so here first I'll go my BIOS. Okay. So when you go BIOS, so this is your BIOS screen. Can you see this? So we have this BIOS, and here you can see there will be multiple options. But the option we are going to select here, network. You can select direct here. But because I'm showing in a virtual environment, but if you're sitting on the physical, what you have to do? You have to go with the option network boot. So here you can see, once you have done the installation of WDS server, so on a client, what I have to do? On a client machine, you have to go BIOS. This is my setup mode. And when you go BIOS, there is the option here, boot menu. On the top of boot menu, we have to go with the option network boot. Okay. And when you power on your computer, what it will do? So here, it will try to show like this. Okay. And here, we have to press what? F12. Can you see this? So we have an option here. You have to press F12 for network boot service. So what it will do, it will try to contact your WDS server, and from your WDS server, it is going to try to load all the booting files. So this file, it is not loading from direct DVD or USB. So this file actually loading from a particular server where you configure the WDS. This is on a physical device. Okay. So when you are sitting on a physical server, you have to restart, you have to power on that machine, you have to go BIOS and select the option first boot from its network. Then when you power on, so it will show a DHCP, one option will be rooted, then automatically it will take IP address, then it will say press F12 for network boot service. So here you have to press F12, then it is going to load all the booting files. But right now I'll be using a virtual environment. So in virtual here, directly I'll select network. So when I press enter, so what it will do? So again, you have to press OK. So here I press the pause button here. So right now you can see I got a IP address 10.11.30, and who has given that IP? 10.1.1.2, and he is saying press enter for network boot service. So one more time, I press enter. Then here I have to press enter. So now what it will do? It will say loading file. From where it's loading? 10.1.1.2. And who is 10.1.1.2? 10.1.1.2 is my WDS server. So from WDS, what kind of file loading? So first it is going to load the booting file. So we created two images. One is boot image and install image. So the boot image, it is going to load all the booting files. That is the role. Okay, that is the only role for that particular boot.zim file. Then after that, it is going to show you one screen. And normally, like how we can say we are installing operating system by DVD, USB, or we are installing over the network. So if you install over the network, here it will say this will be installing by WDS. If you install operating system by pen drive and DVD, directly it will show you one screen like Windows 10, and here only you can say install. But right now we don't have that screen. So one more question comes, like anybody can restart this machine in a network. Anybody can press F12. Anybody can come up to here. But so anybody can come up to here. But here Microsoft has given some kind of security. So right now, if I click next, so here the company will say, who are you? So with whom you are going to install the operating system. So here you have to give a name of a domain. So right now the name of my domain is online MCSE, and I'm the administrator. Then password, you can say OK. And if you remember, like we created image, the image we have Windows 10 Pro. Next, and this is your partition. So what is doing now? From the server, it is loading all the files. Once the installation done, automatically this machine is ready to use in a network. Now the second case, let's say if you want to add another operating system, but because that is only one operating system. I'll go to my server, and one more time, what I do, first I make boot image. So this time I'm making boot image of my server. I have a server operating system, sources, in boot.vim, and this will be my Windows 2016 server. So Windows 2016 server. Next. So first you have to make boot image, then you have to make install image. So for practice, one is enough, but I'm showing multiple. The installation started and even is restarted. So the installation is very quick. So this is the first step. The second step, you have to make image. Right? You can say add image. So if you want, you can add even on that image. If you want, you can make a separate name also. So this is Windows 2016. Next, where is that file? Install.vim. Next, and right now you can see on the server I have multiple. Even I also have a core here. So what I do, I don't want a server core. Maybe I want data center standard, that is a graphical version. So now it will be taking a copy of these two images. And when you try to do that, even in your computer, you also have some space on your seat, right? Okay. If you don't have a size on your partition, you can't make images. So operating system almost take like 10 GB. So now we added another server, that is we previously like we insert Windows 10 DVD and we make two images for that. Now we also have a server. So finish. Now what we can do, suppose I don't have any virtual machine. So what I can do, I can make a new virtual machine here. So normally whenever we make virtual machine here, we supposed to give image of operating system. But right now I don't want any image. So here I'll say, I will install operating system later, but installation I'll be doing by my network. I go next here and I'll be installing 2016 server, and wherever you want, you can maintain that. So I'll say this is my WDS installation server. Next, then how much hard disk space you want, you can give it. So 2 GB is okay. So this is just, I create a virtual machine, but I didn't have any operating system. So when you power on, so here also what I can do, I can press F2, and here I can go with the option like I want to install operating system by network. So when you select network, automatically it will try to forward a request to my server. On a network, the request forward. It will try to contact to DHCP. And here I press enter. So this time now it's showing two main options. Either you want to install Windows 10 or you want to install Windows Server 2016. So why? Because in my server, I have two types of images. So either I can have Windows 10 or I can have Windows Server 2016. So any of these I can install. So here I'll be installing 2016. So it will load the file, then it will do the same process what we have done already. Okay. So once the installation done, now you can see. So this is our client, the installation. So this is your timing. Whatever the timing you want, you can select. You can go with the next option here, and it asking for the license key. So right now I don't have license key. I'll say I do it later, and I accept all the license agreement. Then use express setting. Now this machine is ready to use. Okay. So whatever operating system, whatever the client which we already have, whatever the account we have already, I can use direct load. I can use direct. So let me see our user account. So let's say we have account here, Jack or Sales1 or Sam. So any of this account I can use it. So it's asking for making local account. So I create a local account here by my name. I put my password. See, compulsory. Why? Because whenever I told you, whenever you install operating system, if it's a client operating system, you have to make one account apart from admin and guest. So this is my so that will be a local account on this machine. So now that account is logged in. So here also you can see this is Windows Server 2016. Now I can go next. Ask me who are you? I'll say I'm the administrator of online MCSE. Password. Then here I'll be installing standard edition. Now the installation starts. So this is how we install multiple operating system in all. So here we don't require any DVD, we don't require a CD. So with the help of WDS server, we can install operating system to multiple devices at a time. So this is the beauty of this network installation. Hope you understand.